Yes, I can hear you.
Finally. Okay.
So, all right. So we got you. We're still waiting on Bob Salverson and Phil Ambrose, and neither of them have popped up yet. So I don't know. Don't quite know.
Phil
what
probably
doing.
won't be. He's got a night drill.
Oh, okay.
So he may not be on tonight.
Well, at Gits, you're more than welcome to listen in, join in. Do you have any kind of hazmat? Hey, Bob, background or experience? Hey, Bob, the lighting is absolutely horrific. Salvo.
I think he's freezing up there.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I hear you, but it's so broken.
Do you hear me?
I can hear you, but you're really broken. Nothing, Bob. You're totally frozen if you're still on. All right, Cosch. How you doing?
Good. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing all right. What do you got going on tonight?
Well, hopefully we've got 12 hours left and I can go home.
Do you hear me?
So
48?
No, just 24.
24?
Yeah, I got a 48 in a couple days.
Ooh.
So I think he's trying to pop back up there. Maybe. Nope. Went away.
He's popping in and out. He's playing with his internet. It's an unstable internet right now.
You're still on vacation, right?
I am.
Must be nice.
I can't wait to get back to work.
At least the snow will be melted by then.
Yeah, the snow doesn't bother me. It's the 3 kids that are going nuts at 5 o'clock at night. They're tearing apart the house like 3 little tornadoes. Oh,
awesome!
Man. It's
awesome.
Crazy.
You want me to jump into it, or?
Yeah, I guess.
Try and wait a little bit.
I guess we'll give it a few seconds. How's everybody out there? Who do we have? We have the regulars joining us tonight. We got about 14 people watching.
Yeah, and it looks like
we were told before that we're the headline, one of the headline blabs. So people are going to be jumping in and out, not having a clue who we are, and we'll very quickly put them to sleep. And,
right,
and that'll be it.
I think we've got. I thought I saw Todd D on there or Todd B on there. I don't know if that's Todd Burton or not.
All right. Well, anybody want to jump in real quick? If you want to jump in, go ahead and hit the call-in seat. We'll have you on. Say a quick couple of words. No, nobody. All right.
EMS in Munis, Indiana. Welcome aboard.
Who's that?
The Airborne.
Oh, the Airborne.
She's got the Airborne, looks like. All right, let me start the recording here for myself. All right.
All right, very good. Well, we got a limited roundtable today. Today it's kind of a I don't know, what would you call it? It's a linear table. Looks like it's just me and you.
Yeah, that's all right.
So very good. Right. So let's you got the recording on your end going, right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and do the clap to sync up.
Okay.
So I'll do 1, 2, 3, and then clap. We'll do that 3 times.
Okay.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3, clap. Do it as the audio, not the video. The video will be delayed.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3, clap. 1, 2, 3, clap. All right, let's see if Bob can make it in this time. I hope so.
He's trying.
He is trying. All right, well, while he's trying to jump in and get in, we got background noises minimized. You're recording. I'm recording. Got everything ready on your end?
I'm good.
All right, so let's go ahead. We'll start this up.
All right.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Hazmat Guys Nation Roundtable. Today we're doing a multimedia platform to bring you hazmat response information and training tips from hazmat members from around the country. I'm Michael Monaco. I'm going to be acting as the host for tonight's show. Today I'm joined by Bob Cosch from Florida. At some point, hopefully, we're going to get Bob Salverson from New York. And at some point, hopefully, Phil Ambrose will be jumping in. If somebody has something interesting they want to add or say, feel free to hit the open seat at any time, and we will get you on. And you can ask a question. We could ask you a question. We could figure out what's going on. So it looks
There
like we got
Hello.
Bob Salverson just joining us. How's it going, Bob?
You hear me?
I can
I'm
hear
so
you.
far so good.
All right, fantastic. Your video is a little fuzzy and a little overexposed, but not a problem at all.
Yeah, we'll work around that.
All right, sounds good. I just did the opening. I wasn't sure what was happening. Do you want to redo the opening and start the clap all over again?
No, I could probably just put myself in there, but don't worry about it. We'll work it out.
All right, sounds good. Oh, so we got two guys at work, off location, and one guy on a stable internet. So let's see how this goes tonight. Threw some
I'm working
questions.
on my phone, so
You're working off your phone. So I threw
yeah,
out
this
some,
is awesome.
I threw out some questions to the people watching us. We got 15 people watching us. I didn't get anything. Nobody wanted to jump in. Nobody had anything interesting. Oh, nope. I apologize. At Crocodile Ballin had detergent suicide a few weeks ago. So if you want to,
Very nice.
if you want to jump in and tell us about it, we would absolutely love to hear it. It doesn't have to be right
Sure.
now, but at any point in the show, kind of give me a message that you want to jump in, and we'll get you going. All right, so tonight's roundtable, we've got a couple things to discuss. We're going to be talking about FedEx, DHL, carriers, and what they carry. And then both are Bob's, Cosch. I will refer to Bob Cosch as Cosch, and I will refer to Bob Salverson as Salverson or Salvo. Is going to be talking about neutralization, right, Bob? Right, Salvo?
Yeah, we were just talking about it around the firehouse, and I thought there was some good things that came out of it. So I just want to kind of throw it out there on the field and see if anybody has a different way of doing something like that.
All right, very cool. So let's start off with you, Cosch. What are you going to bring to the table tonight?
Well, there was an incident recently, and actually not too far from you guys in New York, where they had a little acid spill. And it started to get me thinking a little bit about the different types of facilities that a lot of people have. I know here in Orlando, we've got places that like UPS, FedEx, and are major hubs where all these different types of packages come through. And you really don't know what it is you're dealing with. And one of the main things to do is to make sure you have a first response area, that you check it out, you do your pre-plans and whatnot. This was in Hartford, New York. I'm sorry, New Hartford, New York. That's not too far from you guys, I don't think, right?
No.
Sort of. Yeah.
Well,
Well, they had a.
I'll be honest with you, I never actually heard of it before.
Never heard of it. Okay, I think it's actually not too far from you guys, but
Okay.
they had a little nitric acid spill at a UPS facility, and it wasn't a real big deal. They did have a few people that had to go to the hospital because of the noxious fumes. So it started getting me thinking, like I said before, what all of these people transport, and do we even know they're transporting it? Just the nitric acid, that's some nasty, nasty stuff. Fortunately for them, it was about a cupful, and that was it. But the fumes were enough that it sent 5 people to the hospital. So one of the things that I would definitely encourage people to do is look around and find out what they got. But a lot of the materials. Go ahead.
When you say what they got, are they storing stuff, or is it really just in transit type material?
Mostly it's just in transit. Some of the things that they ship is acid, caustics, compressed gas, some small explosives, flammables, poisons, even radioactive material. So there is quite a bit of stuff that goes through, that's really not, it doesn't jump out at you when you pull up onto this building for a person feeling general illness. You might think you're going to, or somebody that feels like they're going to throw up. You might think you're going to a flu, and it's maybe one of these packages that's being shipped that has broken loose and leaking a little bit while it was in transit.
You know, we would just talk about this not too long ago in class, and they're very adept in the game. They know exactly how much they can put on each shipment to get underneath those placarding restrictions that we have to do, whether it's, whatever quantity of whatever placard number they're putting on there. They know what they have to put in there to keep underneath that dangerous placard or whatever placard they got to, label with.
Right, absolutely. And the places that, you've got besides chemicals and dangerous stuff, people are shipping drugs through these different ways too. So, and with the drug dealers, they try to disguise the smell of these different things with odorants or what have you, and just that alone can cause people to get sick. So there's all kinds of different stuff. And like Bob said, we don't really know because they get underneath that DOT, reported quantity or something that they have to put a label on.
So what is the process? I don't do a lot of FedEx shipping. If I were to bring, let's say I wanted to ship nitric acid via FedEx, is there any can I just show up with a package that's already wrapped and ship it off and they have absolutely no idea what I'm carrying, or do they actually check the stuff as it's going out?
Well, it's funny, like the United Postal Service, when you go to mail a big package, one of the first things they ask you is, are you carrying any hazardous or is it containing any hazardous materials? You could theoretically, and this is probably not a good idea, but you could say, well, no, it's not, or it's a small amount, and it's something that doesn't go through the labeling process. So really, you have no way of knowing. But if you were trying to do the right thing, like hopefully everybody would, all you need to do is go online, and there's specific area for shipping hazardous materials, and it breaks down exactly what you need to do. And they even have an exemption list as to what quantities you can get away with or not get away with. So it's all right there on each website, FedEx, UPS, or DHL, what have you.
Very nice, very nice. So what we go on scene, we've got a FedEx truck flipped over, it's leaking stuff. What's going to be the process kind of going through your mind? And I'm gonna bounce this back off both of you, because for those of you that don't know, Bob Cosch is a lieutenant with which fire department?
Orlando.
In Orlando. And Bob Salverson is a fireman in the New York City Fire Department. So we're actually going to look at this from two different points of view. We're going to look at this from the officer's point of view, and then we're going to look at this from the fireman's point of view. So I'm going to bounce this question first to you, Cosch. When you go to these FedEx vehicles or these carrier vehicles, you have absolutely no idea really what's in them. How are we responding? What are we doing to make sure that what we're doing is safe?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a lot of different things. And after that, I can mention something about the facilities too, because they have their own procedures. But yeah, just going to a vehicle crash, it's not labeled. If it's just a crash or maybe it's on fire, you have no idea until hopefully it's not too late. So as with any scene, you should always slow up, size up the scene. I try, just from being in hazmat for a lot of the years, I'd look at trees and flags and whatever as I'm approaching the scene just to see which way the wind's blowing. It's something silly, simple, but you know what? That could maybe cause you, as you're coming up and you go, hey, that's not really smoke. It's maybe fumes coming. Now you've got an idea of, hey, I'm on the wrong side of the wind. Maybe we need to approach the scene from a little bit and then update everybody. But the key, very first thing out the gate, is sizing it up from a little bit of a distance. And if you see it is that type of transport vehicle, I would try to get on the radio even as we're going to the call before we get on the scene and get more information from dispatch. What type of vehicle is it? Can you make contact with maybe the company? Or is there any markings? Did the 911 caller see any markings on the vehicle? Something like that.
So as a hazmat boss, you would be looking to gather more information en route.
Absolutely.
From an operations level boss, for those that don't know what the standards are, the operations level guys are your standard firefighters. They're the ones that go in and they perform the defensive operations. If you were to be talking to a defensive type officer who's going to be responding in on this, what would you tell him are the things that he should be thinking about?
I would ask him the same questions. Are you able to see anything? As I mentioned in one of the earlier shows, binoculars on every rig. Go buy them. They're cheap if you don't have them, and check something out from a distance. What do they see? Is there anything that's out of ordinary? Do they see people passed out around the vehicle? Do they see something leaking from the vehicle? Some of these things can kind of clue us into what might be potentially happening.
Who are the contacts or the resources to gather that information on scene? Who are we looking to turn to for these packages, assuming that everything's labeled properly? All right. I mean, obviously, if things aren't labeled properly, we don't have a clue. There's no way we're going to know. But if things are labeled properly, is it the driver? Is it like, on a regular cargo, or do we have to get a hold of a local facility? Do we have to get a hold of a FedEx or a DHL?
Right. That's a good question. It might be something as simple, if we can get a hold of the driver and he has some idea. My experience, unfortunately, with some of the drivers is they have no clue what's going on other than they have their bill of lading, which, should be in the cab within arm's reach of them anyway. But if they are unconscious or they're going to the hospital or whatnot, we may have to put somebody in bunker gear and SCBA just on the precautionary side to go get that bill of lading and find out, what is actually in the vehicle before we open it up.
All right. Salvo, how about yourself? Coming from a firefighter's point of view, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to be listening a lot to the radio because, I want to hear what's going down. I want to know what kind of conversations happening between companies. I'm going to try to listen to the handy-talkie radios, the walkie-talkies, whatever you call them in your area, to try to get any bit of information. Around where me and Mike work, we don't get a lot of company-to-company communication, fireground communication from far away. We, there's a lot of things blocking us here, so line of sight's a little difficult. But like Arcadona said in there, that's exactly what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about a temp gun. I'm looking at the sides of the vehicle for any type of heat markings, like the paint starting to discolor, for a reaction type indicator. I'm looking across the top of that vehicle to maybe see something that's a little bit more of that heat shimmer than normal. Okay, if it's a hot day, obviously you're going to have it. But if you're seeing an awful lot of heat shimmer, then you maybe start thinking about some type of reaction. I'm looking for runoff. And I'm going to do that wide slide, if I may say, to the side to try to get a 360 of this thing around. If it's backed up to the loading dock, I might ask some company to maybe sling this thing and yank it out to get it away, because if it's burping inside that building, I have now a building problem. I don't want a sick building. I'd rather have the building dissociated from it.
Right.
So, I mean, if I can sling that, maybe put up a water curtain, whatever the tactic and the strategy that the incident commander dictates. But what I'm saying is that I want to kind of isolate that rig if it's against the building. If it's not, then I want to try to isolate around it and do my heat gun, my 4-gas, which is going to be typically your oxygen, your standard 4-gas. If I can get a PID, great. But that is just one part of the puzzle in the whole mitigation thing. And like Bob was just saying, these things carry anything. And who knows if the guy that shipped it was lying.
Right.
Yeah, I'm putting nuclear stuff in it. Yeah, it's great. It's CDs. Yeah, just send it off. Who's to say he's lying? I mean, they throw it through when they goes down that travel line, they do go through radiation and x-rays and stuff like that, but they don't really check anything. I mean, like, I don't know. Maybe somebody's in the listening that maybe has a little more insight, but I don't think they really do much interpretation because they don't want to be bothered.
Right.
That means less shipping.
I don't know what the and obviously, even if we did, we wouldn't mention it now. But I'm sure there's some type of security procedures for some things. But millions of packages are being shipped. So. I mean, like I said, people are trying to ship drugs through this stuff. So,
yeah, and I guess there's always the thought too that we have to keep in the back of our head that these chemicals could mix, and we could end up with a byproduct that is not even something that's mentioned on a bill of lading or that the driver knows nothing about. So we're really all these as true unknowns to the nth degree.
Right, absolutely, and that's why as firemen, our nature is to run in and we want to hurry up and do our job and make a grab or what have you. But on some of these things, we really need to start slowing up a little bit and sizing things up. Size up, especially for this first new company, is crucial, absolutely crucial.
Right. You know, they make fun of us at our firehouse. They say you could time us on a calendar. And because we are slow and methodical. I mean, we go out slow. And it's not that we, don't confuse the turnout to get on the rigs out there, but we don't race into scenes because we're picking up the information from the first companies. We're listening to what's going down with the command or whatever it is, and we're starting to form our metering, our PPE, all that stuff around that to make a good educated guess on how we're going to handle this thing. Hopefully there's some heads up officers on scene that'll start making our jobs a little easier and act defensive. All too often we see that in these, the FedEx or the, let's say the garbage truck hopper that had a little bit of an acid and a little bit of base, and then when they put the scoop in there, it popped the thing and got it right in the guy's eye. Hopefully, officers aren't trying to get in there and don't step on my cape. I'm Superman. I'm going to get into the back of this hopper thing. Recognize it, go defensive, pull out the line, stretch an inch and 3/4 or whatever it might be in your area, and take care of the patient. Let us, the technicians and above, do that kind of thing.
You think there's any negative repercussions to an engine officer being overly cautious and staging his engine a little bit far away and getting the deck gun ready as a defensive operation? Or do you think they should be going up close, approaching with lines and setting up close operations?
I think it really depends on what they see when they first pull up. Because and let's say they have something that's leaking or they have a cloud coming out. Not only are they having to deal with victims that are involved in the auto accident, but now we got to start calling for more resources as quickly as possible because we might have to evacuate or shelter in place, wherever this crash might have happened.
Right. And you know what? Another consideration is everybody always goes with that acid and base idea with, dilution is a solution, throw more water on it. But what happens if it's a group 1 alkali metal? Sodium, lithium, where it's explosive with water, or
right.
Even something in a group 2 where it's very combustible, like the magnesiums and whatnot. So water might not be it. Guys talk all the time, and I think Jeff Zintek's in here, and he had a whole article, and he had, we'll just knock down that chlorine cloud with some water. Well, the solubility is nil, so you're not knocking anything down. You're pushing it. You're not knocking it down. So, I mean, water, though it is very potent in us and we sling it around, very easily, it's – I don't think it's a first due non-technician level decision to start slinging water at an unknown without some type of talk with at least the hazmat specialist that's coming in and saying, hey, what do you think? And he might say, well, is it this? Is it that? Is it this? Then do it. Because there's too many variables. Do you guys agree?
Absolutely. Agree 100%.
Any thoughts on the first 2 companies before the specialists get there, the technicians get there, continuously monitoring for all the things that we talked about? Or do you think just one quick once around, all right, I checked it with the thermal imaging camera, everything looks good, let's sit and wait? Or should there be some kind of continuous monitoring for changes?
Well, if they don't, I would definitely most first 2 companies don't have a 4-gas meter on their units. Fortunately, that is starting to become more of the norm, but, because of money and whatnot, they don't all have them. But what they can do, like you mentioned, using the tick, absolutely use that thermal imaging camera. Maybe go ahead down somewhere and dike off an area that it may eventually get to. Some of these defensive actions to minimize what's going on until the specialists get there.
How about you, Salvo?
I agree.
Agreed.
I agree 100%. Exactly what he just said.
Yeah.
All
right. So you've got an interactive map that you want to share with us. Yes, Bob?
Yeah, there was let me back up real quick because I want to talk about the facilities real quick. Some of these facilities too, when you get called to them, they already have, and this is where your pre-plan comes into play. They already have a rally point for their employees. They might even have decon showers on site. They might have minor spill kits on site. A lot of these places are going to try and handle a small leak by themselves, and you won't even know that it happened until somebody gets on their phone and calls 911 because they're having trouble breathing, and they didn't want their boss to know they're calling. So that might be something that we're coming into, and that's why I kind of get on my soapbox about knowing your area and what you have and what they can offer you. Stuff like that is really, really important. So I encourage everybody to get out there, and if you have any of these large shipping facilities in your area, meet with management. Try to forge that bond and get some good information and work together.
In your experience, have they been relatively open to the people, the hazmat teams coming in, and for
the most part, yeah. There was an entity that really wanted us to just stop at the gate, and that was it. But that's, after a couple incidents and things being shut down for hours and hours, we finally convinced them to let us come in, and everything was fine. So worked out good.
You know what? Ricky Meehan, he just wrote in, because I know the comments are not going to show up in the video, but he says, if the shipper declares the cargo as being a hazmat, the carrier is required to follow DOT segregation rules as per 49 CFR. So, yeah, well, the thing is, if the shipper declares it, but what if the shipper was lied to?
Right.
So and Matt Blows, he says that what is the vessel doing? Absolutely, but what if it's not a vessel? What if it's a plastic bag full of pellets? If it's if it's a frangible type glass container, if it's don't think that these things are gonna be metal. Don't think they're gonna be some type of plastic drum or something like that. They can be very fragile. They could be basically not even a vessel. It could be just
a sack. Just a regular bag.
It could be a sack. Yep. Yeah. We've had a couple of these where we've gone in, and luckily these things turn out to be more of an outdoor operation, which typically will double your thresholds for your action levels, which is good. So if my normal action level is 1, and it doesn't matter what number 1 is. If it's 1, well, because it's outdoor, usually it goes up to like a number 2. So okay, I need 2 parts per million now, which is better. It lets us screw around a little bit more. But if it, like I said before, try to get that. If it is in the facility, try to get it out of the facility as fast as possible. If it's in a truck, try to isolate the truck and get it away from things. Right,
and remember too, if let's just say it is a truck at a facility, management's going to want to isolate that, because any lost time is lost business, and they're not going to go for that. So they're going to try and keep operations going around you, and you might have to be a little stern and get the law enforcement involved or what have you. So, but yeah, the interactive site that I came across, it was hazmat.globalincidentmap.com. And when I was doing some research on some stuff, I came across this, and it was just popping up live incidents that have happened. It was like 30 incidents in the last couple hours all around the country. And you could click on it and had just, like a real short little blurb of what it was going on. So it was just something neat to see that, there's a lot of stuff. What is it, like 60,000 something incidents in a week or some crazy number like that? It's astronomical.
That's a lot.
So
that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Right now, I want to open the floor up to anybody that has a comment on this. So if you have had a run with a FedEx, any one of these, I don't want to just name FedEx. It's the first one that pops in my mind. But you had a run or an incident, or you've dealt with this, or you've had something that you would like to add at this point now, hit the open seat. I'll open up the first one that comes across. Give it a few seconds. And if not, we'll open it up to anybody that has a question. So if you have a question, go ahead and throw it on the messaging if you don't want to jump into the seat.
It's very intimidating. It's hot in that seat.
It is. Oh. All right. Do you guys have a site safety plan on each job? Do you wait for one to be approved by your IC? Is there a standard site safety checklist that you would use? Whew. All right.
That's a good question.
While we're while these guys are answering that, I'm going to go ahead and type in the address to that site that Cosch just mentioned. And you guys want to answer that?
We have a site safety plan that we carry on the hazmat truck. It also has it's a little packet we keep in the hazmat officer's folder, and it's got anything from a reference sheet to fill out for the reference guy, equipment sheet, and then a site safety plan that the hazmat officer will fill out, lays out everything, hands it to the incident commander. In a perfect world, that's how it's supposed to happen. And it's pretty in depth. It's not too in depth, but it's enough to qualify for what we would need.
Is this like your after report, or is this like for a pre-plan for each building? Is that what you're talking about?
No, for what this is, if we went to emergency call, we would fill out basically a site safety plan for that incident. And then all that paperwork plus a report would all be in a file so that we could send it wherever we need to send it to. I think that's what they're talking about. Unless he's talking about a pre-plan.
Yeah, I think that's our CD15H, which is like our after-action report, what we did.
Right.
But I'll be honest with you, we have. I don't have to tell you how big New York City is, and it's enormous. There are so many hazardous buildings here that we can't do pre-plans and everything. We do building inspection here, but it's like shoveling water against the tide. It'll never happen. It'll never finish up, and every day there's a new one that pops up. So what we do is we just do I don't know if we don't call it really a site safety plan. We do an after action type thing. It's basically just a worksheet for the officer to do the NYFERS, which is the New York report, New York State report on that incident. So that's pretty much what it is. We don't really have, I mean, I can give you ours. We're currently just updating ours, but the NYFERS and the our CD15H, which is the FDNY's hazmat response thing. I can give you all of it. If you guys want to get it, just send me a private text and I'll get it for you.
But in case that you weren't talking about that after action report, you're supposed to have all sorts of stuff in place before you jump in. And I know we did a big drill with the Coast Guard, and we were dealing with maritime type hazmat stuff. And we had a spill in a cargo hold. It was a mutual drill. We were drilling with them, and we did, because we're used to it, we do what's called a Hazmat Huddle with all of our guys, including our officer and our chief, who happens to be a hazmat chief. So we will go through it very, very quickly and talk about everything that needs to be done. And when everybody's on the same page, we pretty much, in a very casual way, we go through all that whole process. And we were dressed in our level A suits and ready to go within 5 to 10 minutes. And the Coast Guard team that we were with, they took almost an hour because they had a very formal process of talking about all the information, going through. Each person had to vote on what the level of the hazard was. It was a very involved process. So there's lots of different teams out there, lots of different ways to do it. I think for the most part, as long as everybody is on the same page and everybody feels comfortable based upon the research and the information, having the IC move forward, I don't think that's, as long as everyone's on the same page, should be pretty easy to do.
Excellent.
All right, cool. All right, so that's, I think that pretty much wraps up the FedEx, yes?
Yeah, unless anybody else got any questions. If you do, just get with me later or something.
All right, very cool. All right, Bob, what were you bringing to the table?
Well, we were recently discussing, me and one of my friends over at work, we were discussing doing, I guess it would be neutralization of an acid or a base, just the basic skill of it. And we were talking about it, and some of the guys really didn't understand the two methods that you can use. All right, so let's just break this back. I know. I don't want to get on the whole soapbox of this, the chemistry thing, but if you have an acid or you have a base, we're going to monitor this with a pH strip. Everybody agrees with this, right? We take a pH strip, we dip the thing in there, and depending on the severity or the concentration, and I'll get back to that in a second, we dip it in there, and it'll give us a blue or a red or whatever type of strip you're using. It'll give you an indication if it's an acid or base. But we've seen it where it's so strong it bleaches it out almost immediately, right, Mike? We've seen that?
Yeah, and actually bleach will literally do that within moments. It'll bleach it out.
So, I mean, sometimes these indications take place immediately, so you got to catch it right away. But then basically what we do is we make up whatever it is, we make the counter up, and we start putting it onto it. And inevitably, the jerk that's putting it on goes a little far, and then we have to mix up the opposite one to bring it back. So we have we have something on the floor that's an acid. So we pull out our base, which is going to be a soda ash. That's what we use. It's just a granular soda ash. It's a strong base. And we scoop, let's say, 2 scoops into the bucket, a plastic bucket. We start mixing it around, get it all nice and mixed in. And then we start brushing it on. And we put a little bit on and a little bit on until we bring it between 5 and 9, which is basically where we can start flushing it down the drain. Now, if you don't know the volume of your problem, like the spill, then you're going to have to do it this way. Okay. But if you do it, if you know the volume, or you can, pretty closely guess it, you could do it by a method called titration. Okay. So I'm just going to go over that real quick because we just went over it maybe a day or two ago. But basically what you do is you mix up a mini portion of this. So you take a pipette or some type of volume. That's, you take a pipette, you suck up some of the stuff that's in the bucket of the affected, whatever it is, you squirt into like a little cup. And then you mix up your solution, your counter solution, and you put it into another cup. And now you start dripping 1 drip at a time and testing it as we drip to see when it hits 5 to 9. And at that point, we say, okay, it was 9 drips to make it go over. So it's 9 to 1. AKA, I can figure out exactly how much I need to dump in this bucket, and it'll put it right in the middle. Do you guys do this? Does anybody out there do this? Did I just shoot over everybody? I mean, it's a kind of a basic thing, and I think most guys do this on the fly, where we just take, 2 scoops, and we keep putting this crap on there, and then inevitably we get bored of doing this, because this is a slow operation. We get bored, and we go too far over, and then you got to build, oh, crap, I got to build the other one. So, like, when this stuff is fizzing, it's off-gassing, and that tells you that there's still acid or base or whatever the hell you're doing, that there's still something going on. When it stops doing that, it's getting very close. Do you guys have any other ways to do this?
We had an acid bomb, actually, somebody made with a 2-liter bottle on the back porch of a house, and my fireman at the time put a little too much. So, yeah, we went from an acid way over to the other side. And, we were there for a long time.
To the dark side.
Yeah, to the dark side. We were there for a long time to try to bring that back to as close to neutral as possible. But, yeah, we try to do the same thing. Just small area, get kind of the formula, if you will, and then just keep going around until we get it right. Little bits at a time, not just throwing it all out there.
Right. Mike, you got anything with that? I mean, you got any little insights or tricks?
Yeah, I mean, I always we got to try to remember that when we're doing this, the amount of product that it will take to go from a 1 to a 2. If you use that same amount of product to try to go from a 2 to a 3, you're going to immediately go from a 2 to a 7 or a 2 to an 8. Because it's a 10-fold concentration for each one. So it's a mixture of being bored and a mixture of just once you get to that point, you blow through it really fast. So you have to add littler, smaller amounts as you go by, not the same amount if you're just going to be doing it with the slurry method. And the titration method, I absolutely love it. There's a couple things that you got to know. You have to make sure that all your volumes are known. So the volume of the sample that you're taking is a known sample. The volume of the amount that you're dripping in is known. And then you have to be able to replicate that concentration. So it's not just good enough to take and dump some product into a bucket and mix it up and titrate it with that, because you don't know what the concentration that you just made is. So if you're going to do the titration method, it is very important to say, okay, I'm going to do 3 cups of my base into 5 gallons of water, so that I can replicate that over and over and over again, depending on the size of the spill.
Right. And you know what, another thing, again, to take a step back, we were talking about this, and guys, especially a couple of the newer guys in Hazmat, they were they equated that scale that was on the pH paper as strength of the acid or base. And it is not. Okay, I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page with this. All it's telling you, it has more pH. It has the percent. What is it? The percentage of hydron.
Yeah, percentage of hydron.
Hydron. So basically, what that means is that it's more of a base. And like we said in our other shows, Coca-Cola is a 2,
right?
But we drink it.
And
all right, and I know of 5s. But I know of 5s that'll burn your skin right off. So remember, there's 2 things of acids and bases. That there is the pH of it, and there's this concentration or strength of it, or the molarity, or whatever or molality, whatever method you want to measure this in, and that's the actual strength of it. So when we do our acid-base neutralization with the affected liquid and the counter liquid we're going to neutralize it with, we have to take that into effect. So that, and Hazmat Squad 226 is saying that it's going to be possible heat increase. Absolutely. It is. Yep. Because we're taking an acid and a base, and what's really going to happen is it's going to be an exothermic reaction, and you're probably going to get some type of salt, right?
Yeah,
right.
You end up with a salt
and
water.
Probably an off-gassing of something. You might get hydrogen, you might get carbon dioxide, depending on whatever you're using to counter it out.
And let's dive into that thought just a little bit. This is actually why we end up using a slurry instead of going for the straight acid dry product, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, you're right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm concentrating on Matt Blow's question. I kind of missed it. What was your question again? I'll come back to his question.
My question?
Yeah, what was yours?
Okay, so mine was, if you look at the Hazmat Squad 26, he says, must be aware of the possible heat increase. And that possible heat increase is actually the reason why we use the slurry method versus just taking straight product, straight acid powder and putting it into a base, is because we want that water to go ahead and hold the heat. We use that water as a heat sink.
Right. Exactly. The water actually absorbs the heat that's built up in the acid. So we don't put water into an acid. We put acids into waters, and bases into water, because the water can suck up the heat quick, but it doesn't work the other way around. As far as what Matt Blow says, is there a volume of product which neutralization should not be attempted? And be honest with you, all right, so it's whatever you can contain, first off. But let's take a wider step back. Do we need to neutralize something? If it's on the ground and we have to suck it up, then we might have to neutralize it. But if it's in a container, then why do we have to neutralize it? Overpack it.
Right.
If the container's made for it, then let's put it in a matching container that'll hold it, and we're done. Because every time you neutralize, you have to increase the volume exponentially.
Right. And something too to keep in mind, there's all kinds of different, there's soda ash, there's all kinds of different things that we can use out there. And there's different hazmat chemistry books, and you can research it if you want. But to get the formula for how much of X that you need to neutralize Y to get Z, so I would encourage a lot of departments to find, whatever it is you carry or you have access to for that neutralization that you're going to do, have that quick formula written out. So, if I'm dealing with this different types of acid and I have soda ash or whatever, do your quick little conversion chart. And now you know how much of the neutralization agent you're going to need before you even start an operation.
Right. That comes down to maybe you being able to titrate it out to figure out. And I mean, there's a whole list of how to do this thing. Yeah. But the problem is that, titration with an unknown volume, aka a spill, is extremely difficult. In fact, I was researching this. I couldn't find a way that it was done. So when you do it like that and you have an unknown spill that's on the ground, you kind of have to do that trial and error method. But if you can figure out the volume, then you can do the titration. It's a very easy way. If somebody else knows a way to do it, pH paper is cheap and algebra is expensive, indeed. But people are impatient, and what happens is all the time we start putting it on. This is taking forever, and they just spill a little extra, and then bang, it goes from like a 4 to a 11. And it happens instantly. You're like, oh crap!
Right.
And now you got to build. Now you got to go and make another bucket and fix that problem now.
And inevitably, by the time you've bounced back and forth 3 times, you turn to the boss and go, "Yep, she's neutral," because you're just so sick and tired of going back and forth and back and forth. And then
it's close enough.
Yeah, you also have to deal with
enough.
The 5 gallons of acid and 5 gallons of base that you now have. You got to go and neutralize that. So there's there's a lot to be thought of when you're doing an acid-based titration.
Yeah, it's not just throwing something down. That's for sure.
Exactly. Your slurry, the stuff you made to counter whatever's out there, has to be now. Exactly like Mike just said. Now you have to do that one, and now we have to make more and more and more. So, and it's not like, at the end of the day, we can just take all this stuff and dump it in one drum. Now we have to have a drum for each one of these things, and maybe more than one drum.
Right.
So it gets exponential. What I'm saying is that if you can titrate it and hit it right in the bullseye with the one dot, great. If you can overpack it, even more gooder. Is that good? No, we can do it.
I think more gooder is good.
More gooder.
More gooder is better, right?
I would think. That sounds very intelligent.
Oh, that's great. All right. Do we have anything else to add to acids and base neutralization?
Just one more thing. There was something, and we have some stuff out there, and I'm not promoting this, but I never heard of it. I just kind of found this. It's called Amphomag. I'll put it, you know what? I'm going to put it in there. It's something, and I don't know if it's a gimmick or something like that, but Amphomag, this stuff is like a acid-base neutralizer. I guess they have 2 different products, but you put it in there and it turns reddish pink to say that it's an acid. And when it's neutralized, it changes color to yellow-green.
Oh, yeah. Just like we use when we do titrations in laboratories. Yeah.
Exactly. It's that, what the hell is that stuff called? Something.
Yeah,
something 4.
Each pH level will have a chemical that reacts. It'll denature something and produce a color change. And let me tell you, those things are very specific. You can have if you have a chemical that's set for like a pH of 3.6, the moment you hit 3.6, it'll turn red, and it turns. And then you can have multiple mixtures in there. Yeah, no, that's definitely that's a viable thing. It's something that we use in labs all the time.
Yeah. So, I mean, and we have some stuff here at the firehouse that, we have a speedy dry, absorbent that has this acid or base kind of powdered on the outside of it. And supposedly if you sprinkle it on there, it works to neutralize it all in one package. But every time we did it, everything went to acid.
Right. Yeah. Well,
I don't know. The base even went to acid.
My daughter believes in fairy dust and flying, so I guess
right. It's amazing,
right?
We actually got this stuff here that was they said it will do acid and base. We're like, how does it do both? It's not like a thermos where it keeps the cold stuff cold and the hot stuff hot. How does it neutralize both sides of the scale? And the guy didn't know. He said it was like, it was magic and pixie dust and whatever and unicorns and shit. So it didn't really work out too well.
I want to say really quick, we got Ricky Mayhem, all right, who says, yeah, but the quantity of the spill is impossible to determine. All right, plug in the formula, and is not always in one spot on the highway. Corrosive spills just suck to deal with, and they'll always be a headache. Absolutely right, 100%. But if you had something like a sulfuric acid tanker truck that was leaking, then you can be fairly certain that although the amount is going to change from place to place and puddle to puddle, the concentration and the strength and the pH of that acid is going to be the same everywhere. So if you have a large puddle here, you can be pretty sure of how much you have to add in that area. And if you're not good with your spills, if you're not good with being able to predict how large a spill is, then drill on it. Go out and pour 5 gallons on the floor and or 4 gallons on the floor, and bring your guys in and say, hey, listen, how much liquid is this? What do you think this is? And talk about stuff like that. It's
inevitably they're going to overestimate it.
Yeah, it's always an overestimate. So yeah, they will always be a headache without a doubt, but it's not always, a spill on a road. It's sometimes for us a lot. It's in the back of a hopper. All right, so we've come up to a garbage truck that now has a hopper in it, and we can pretty readily define how much liquid is in there. And as long as it's homogeneous, we can do the titration method. But a lot of guys will go right to the, throwing pH paper in there and, dumping it in. It's easier to take action right away that way.
Good.
That's all I got, baby.
All right, sweet. Does anybody in the audience want to jump into the seat and add something to the show? If you do, now would be the time. We had a few people try to call in a couple times, but unfortunately, these guys were talking, so I didn't want to interrupt anyone.
Is that football that Arcodona is talking about? Is that the resin impregnated like little football thing, like a handball? He's saying that anybody use the Hazmat Flow Stop football on acids. Is that what he's talking about? The resin stuff?
Yes, he's saying yes. Although it's Matt that's saying yes.
Yeah, Matt saying yes.
Maybe they're talking to each other, I guess.
I don't think I've ever used it on an acid spill. Anytime I've ever gone to an acid spill, the container is breached and empty by the time we get there. So we've never had to stop an acid leak. At least I've never had to stop an acid leak. I've always had to just deal with the crap afterwards. How about you, Bobs?
Yeah,
we haven't.
I have used it. I've used it 3 or 4 times, but it's always been on like a fuel tank, a gash, and a sidewall of a saddle tank or something like that. I've never used it on an acid or a base. I'm gonna, you know what? I have them really close to me. I can probably. I might have them right next to me. I don't know. Let me look around. I'm in the supply room right now. So
behind you.
Is it? Do you see it on the shelf?
No. I can barely see you.
Wait.
No, those are the silicone plugs. Those are fantastic.
All right.
Those are my favorite plugs in the whole world. I can't believe I actually have a favorite plug.
Hey, this is great. There.
Getting a tour of
the jar of mercury.
Yeah, nice.
That's the jar of mercury. This thing is like 8 pounds.
That's actually.
Don't spill it.
That's actually my jar.
Is it?
Yeah. You know how much stuff
from a really big thermometer. It was an anal thermometer, right? It was.
You know how much stuff.
It was huge.
I leave everything everywhere. I'm a scattered mess. I've got bins there that I was supposed to bring home back in November. I brought half of them home, and I haven't remembered to bring the others. Show and tell time. Yeah, absolutely.
No, I don't want to take them for a tour. This is I'm in like a closet.
Is that what he meant? No. I thought he meant, can I jump into the seat and show something? I didn't.
Oh,
yeah. Sorry about that.
Yeah, jump in there. Come on, I'll take you for a walk.
I think he was wanting Bobby to show him around.
I got monkey wrenches here. I got nothing. It's stupid stuff. Whatever.
All right. So anybody have anything to add for acids and bases? Anybody want to jump in and just show their face and say hi and let us make fun of you for a few minutes and vice versa?
Now's your chance.
Right. Yeah, if you want to, now's your chance. Questions, comments, words of wisdom? If not, we'll go ahead and close the show down. All right, hold on. With all level A suits, do you have a favorite manufacturer or style?
That's a tough one.
Well, I don't think I've been in every level A suit, but I have to tell you the suits that we are currently using, which are the Trelleborg VPS, are a very nice suit. Not saying they're better than anything else out there. I don't know, but it's a very comfortable suit, and I'll jump in it any day and do stuff.
Yeah, we use what they give us. We don't have like a very fancy palette.
Right. I don't have my own choice of hazmat suits. As cool as that would be, I don't. I pretty much and it changes. You get used to one thing for our level C's and B's. We'll get used to one thing, and I guess it's just lowest bidder. And then we'll suddenly have a different suit. So, cool. How about you, Cosch?
What they give me. I mean, we make suggestions, and most of the time they listen to us. But then it comes down to budgets, like anybody else, and but we get pretty much the same thing everybody else gets.
Right.
All right, that's it.
Any while they talk about level A's, are there any kind of major acid stuff that we would be using level A? When would we use a level A for an acid?
Good question.
Good question.
Either Bob.
EPS.
When would we use a level A for an acid? Well, anytime the acid is going to be volatile, it's going to be an acid concentration in the air. That's when I would start really considering that. That's when I would start considering doing the level A as opposed to just bunker gear.
So you wouldn't just
or splash.
You wouldn't just kind of run in with the level A on.
No,
I
don't think so. I'm going to say 95% of all of our runs, we're going in with bunker gear because everything is flammable in some range, right? Very few things. You're always going to, it's not like it's digital where it's, we have no problems. And one step forward, the end of the world is right here.
Right.
So there's a linear progression of hazard that's coming up. So as we're coming in there, these meters and these sensors and the spidey senses that we have are tingling and they're telling us that there's something going on. And that's where we should be able to say, I stop and I back up and then I change my PPE. But, can you go in? Yeah. We have a chlorine leak. And it turns out to be a guy that spilled a bottle of bleach, on the floor. And we come walking in there with level A suits on. That's a little overkill. We could have. I'm just saying that we can walk into these things and address them 99% of the time in fire bunker gear with SCBA, PPE, gloves, the proper stuff, and handle it.
Right. Squad 26 is trying to see I think he's mentioned HF.
Yes, yeah. One guy mentioned HF, and I think for the most part we will be jumping in. I had somebody calling in. Real quick, is this are you a firefighter, hazmat responder? No. Yes? Okay. I can't hear you.
Can't hear you, sorry.
There's no volume. I'm sorry, Ashley. I'm gonna have to punch you out of this. I've got no volume whatsoever.
Oh, nothing.
Okay. So yeah, I hope she's got something cool to add. If you can get your volume, Ashley, if you can get your volume working, join back on. We'd love to hear what you got to say.
All right.
Yeah, HF. I think we're gonna be definitely considering the level A relatively quickly, and specific level A. I think there's a few level A's out there that aren't compatible with the HF, so we want to make sure that that whatever we're using, anytime we have a chemical, we want to make sure that the stuff is.
Yep.
I love it.
All right. Well, if nobody else has anything else,